Welcome to the Illuminator series on getting started videos, and this video will be on what is Illuminator. So let's get started. Simply put, the Illuminator it's a multi-site carrier monitoring system with monitoring control of those sites from a single control central site. It leverages the Decimator 3 and Decimator 4 as remote collection devices. It provides a dashboard view much like the Carrier Watch and Spectator that supports multiple remote sites. And measurements are keyed by workspace site measurement name. So before we get started, we've already introduced a few terms. We need to define those. So let's look at these new terms that we need to get a handle on. So first off, an analysis. Analysis is an evaluation of raw data against some metric to produce a pass or fail result. Some options are examples are band power, presence of a carrier, EIRP, C over N, SNR, and center frequency. Carrier is essentially data that is passed over a network at a particular frequency and power level. This is sometimes used interchangeably in the document with measurement, but carrier is more the raw form of the data. Constellation view, this is shows the demodulated data of the signal on the IQ axis. Measurement consists of a name, a carrier settings configuration, such as center frequency span, RBW, etc., and one or more of the configured analyses. Project file is just a file in D3 world that's XML format, in D4 world it's a JSON format, and it contains all of your settings, including all the measurements, the measurement names, the analyses that are going to be run, and the thresholds that need to be within limits. Site is a configuration within a workspace that consists of a site name, IP address, remote port, and an uploaded project file. So this represents a remote site can be a D3 or a D4. Spectrum view, this shows a trace of a measured carrier with power on the vertical axis and frequency on the horizontal axis. Again, the workspace is sort of you can have multiple workspaces inside the Illuminator, and it's a configurable space within the Illuminator that consists of one or more sites where carrier monitoring can be commanded and measurement results can be viewed. Okay, so let's go on and look at the architecture. The figure to the right shows an overview of the customer's network that includes the Illuminator software product at the operations center or central site in blue, and a number of decimators purple out at the teleport or gateway locations. The Illuminator software is provided as a software-only package that can reside on a customer server or can also be deployed as a cloud service. The software is packaged in a Docker container to allow easy installation and administration on customer server platforms or in the cloud. In order to connect to the Illuminator software, the customer decimators must have a license installed so that Decimator can forward carrier monitoring results to the central site, and the licenses can be installed as a firmware upgrade to either D3 or D4 decimators. So again, on the blue side here in these Illuminator, you have a web server, an app server, and some user management, a database for the configuration where you have all the project files. In this case, there's three, one for each site that correspond to each of these remote decimators, and then you'll have a measurement database that stores the measurement results, so that little web GUI. And then there'll be a connection that connects the web server with the remote decimators, and they will have on the D4s shown here in the two left purple boxes, the carrier monitoring is running on the left, whereas on the D3 the carrier monitoring is running inside the Illuminator and making calls back and forth. The key difference in the Illuminator software from the existing Carrier Watch Spectator software is the centralized control of the multiple decimators. This allows for all of the carriers for several decimators to be logged and monitored from a single operation point. Multiple workspaces can be configured by the system administrators to allow access to the measurement results for different lists of carriers. This gives you your segmentation or multiple tenant sort of access. Workspace configuration is flexible and can be partitioned by satellite, antenna, lease carrier, service provider, end customer, or other parameters to organize the viewing of carriers by an Illuminator user. The Illuminator product leverages the features of Carrier Watch and Spectator as much as possible, as these features have proven to be popular with customers. Illuminator has the following features in common with those other projects. You can view the carriers at a glance. You can see up to 100 carriers in a single window. Color indicates when carriers are in alarm. Display updates in real time as the carriers are measured. Zoom into a carrier to play back traces and view the trend plot. The trace is displayed as an overlay on top of the multiple carrier display. A trend plot is available to show carrier power over time so you can quickly spot any power fluctuations. Alarm lines indicate where the carrier power has crossed the threshold, and you can review previous traces from the trend plot history. Playback traces to determine whether the power change was sudden or gradual. Overview of the carrier specifications like expected power and measurement parameters such as a span or resolution and bandwidth. And the display can be configured in multiple ways: show all carriers, show only alarm carriers, or show a custom list of carriers. The display can be configured to show alarm carriers only, and this is the most recent alarm carriers automatically moved to the top left corner of the screen. As carrier issues are resolved, the non-alarm carriers are no longer shown on the display when the carrier roots to a nominal state. At a glance view, the alarm carriers include the duration of the alarm, so it's clear whether it's a persistent or transient issue. And we'll see this in subsequent tutorials. Focus on the priority of carriers by creating a custom list of carriers to display, by selecting the carriers of interest from a monitoring plan so you can pick and choose which ones you want to see. Live displays can be sized to look good on your monitor or on a large operation screen, center screen. You can also get SNMP traps sent out and email alarm notifications. Automatic notifications occur while you watch the overview of all the live carriers. And you can also save pictures of the overall view or a particular carrier to PNG, and then you can add those into your own reports or emailed externally to other carrier providers. So the major responsibilities of the central site, we kind of went over this, but we'll go over it again. The blue part is we have a web server, the user management, that we do authentication and authorization. We have a workspace configuration and storage in the relational database, measurement storage in the time series database, and commanding functions to start and stop the carrier monitoring. We have a REST API and a WebSocket interface if you prefer to integrate the Illuminator into your own network solution. On the remote side, which is the purple side, it can be either a D3 or D4. It requires a license for usage by the Illuminator. D4, the carrier monitoring engines on the D4, and is commanded by the central site to start and stop, and all the configuration is passed to it. And the carrier monitoring engine forwards results back to the central site Illuminator. This requires a configured Illuminator user to access the Illuminator functionality. D3, the carrier monitoring engine runs on the Illuminator, and we have an API that for the API for the Illuminator central site to configure the carriers and get the trace results from. Thank you for watching.